Hello and welcome to the first of our series of meetings with the directors from the international competition here at Curtas. Today we have the filmmakers whose films were screening yesterday. We have Duarte Coimbra with O Filme Feliz, Francis Canitro with Peeping Mom, Mónica Lima, Natureza Humana, Human Nature, and Dimitri Mijalovic and Miguel Lima with the film Quase Me Lembro, Almost Forgotten. And I'll start with you guys. First of all, welcome to Curtas. Congratulations on this powerful and impressive film. I'm very curious to know, first of all, how it all started, what was the starting point for this project, and what was the idea in the beginning with this story. And of course, how about this partnership between the two of you, how it came about?
Do you want to start?
Yeah, I could start. Yeah. Hello. First of all, thank you for the opportunity to talk with you, to share ideas, and to talk about the process and how all of this came out. And so, we started 3 years ago, 4 years ago. We work in BAP, and in BAP Studio, usually we have this. It works like this. We have partnerships. We like this co-directing stuff, and probably it's our first film. We kind of learned with the others. So we have David and Vasco, they did the production of our film. We have Alexandre Ramirez and Laura Gonçalves, they also work together. And for us, it made sense at that point. We just started to have some conversations, and then it was like natural, like, okay, let's make a film, why not? And the ideas, that was another story, because it took some time. First of all, it was just a huge brainstorming with nothing in our mind. We didn't have this specific idea of what we wanted to do. So, but in the end, we kind of realized that we got interested in these thematics of memory, first of all. Like, how do we deal with memory? How memory works in our brain. It was very scientific and very factual interest. Not about the story, not about the narrative, about nothing. It was just, how does this work? How can we change memories? That was very interesting, because at some point I was painting the living room of my grandmother's house. And then I went to the corridor, and she died. Now at this point, she died 12 years ago. But at that point, she left like 10 years ago. And it was one of my most important houses in my life. And I painted the walls in yellow. And then I checked some pictures, and the walls were blue. And I was very impressed, because it's very strange, like, how memory works, like these layers that we put on top of the other. Like, yeah. we read this stuff somewhere, that you never get access to the previous memory. You get access to the memory of a memory. So in the end, if you try to remember about the same thing 15 times, it's going to be 15 times different. So it's completely different. It's not the memory anymore. It's not the original stuff. So I was not remembering about my grandmother's house. I was remembering about an imaginary house that I had in my brain. And it was very, very awkward. So both of us had this kind of stories in our lives. And I'm just talking for myself, but it was like Dimitri has his own stories as well. And it was very interesting, and in the end, the film kind of developed in a different way. It was we spent 2 years doing this, yeah. So the things just changed a bit. Probably you wanted to talk about that, or I'm gonna talk for a long
yeah,
time.
Because as we went along and kept working on it, we're completely focused on just this idea of how does somebody remember a space or remember a house or something. And we felt the need to put some some symbolic way. We started to put some symbols, some stuff. We didn't really know what, but it was just felt. We had this idea. We need to put symbols that you could relate to the characters that once lived. In this idea of a person that has now grew up, how does he remember that things as a kid, as a child? And at some point, we were very much ahead during the production and everything, and we started talking with people and showing the film, and we didn't even consciously realize that we had all this, like, oh, this house is about, it's a colonial history, and we weren't doing it consciously, but at that point, when we had those talks with our friends and colleagues, we just realized, either we rethink everything and start again over, or we need to just go ahead and focus on this, because the story became about that. And I think that's what allowed us to unblock that. Only then we knew, okay, so this film now is about this. It's not just like this superficial visual process of remembering things. It's about trying to, the way we reinterpret the memories and people, the stories they would tell, or actually the stories they didn't tell. That's what we felt about. Like my family, I don't have, my family is all Serbian. I don't have this kind of particular story here in Portugal. I don't relate to this, but I think everybody here in Portugal somehow is related to family members, related to colonial times and all of that. But I have the same feeling about, Serbia and Yugoslavia, these things that, the grown-ups just don't know how to explain those things to children. And it's strange to grow up and try to pick the pieces and try to make up a story. What would that mean? This thing that my grandfather would say, what's that all about? But as a child, I had no idea what's going on. And so, then we focus on that perspective, somebody that's trying to understand, what was going on.
Yeah, and I think you talk about I think one of the strengths of the film is how universal it is, because it can speak to everybody in its own way. And I was wondering then, while you were developing the story, or what the themes of the film would be, at the same time you were thinking about the visual look of the film. How was that playing with each other, influencing each other? For example, this idea that this in the film that is almost like a continuous moving shot, was that something that you felt that was connected to this story of memory?
Maybe. Yeah, it's just when we were trying to think about how to, represent this process of remembering. This idea of trying to, the more specific, memories are very vague, and you think you remember something, but if you really try to get into it, you figure out it's not that easy. You cannot really remember the details, or not even details, sometimes general stuff. And I think we understood that it didn't make sense to have like an edited film, like different shots. We didn't feel like memory behaves that way. That's a bit uncontrolled process. It's like, you travel, you start somewhere and you keep going ahead, and then, no, was it here? Then you go back, no, was this different? And then we really felt like, oh, this is an interesting thing. Like, let's try to keep it, no cuts, long shots, keep moving along and exploring and going back, and things appear or disappear, get destroyed. I think so, yeah.
And how did you come to those conclusions as a team? Was it a lot of discussion back and forth? How did it help to have someone else to bounce ideas?
We fight a lot. It was a disaster. No, it's very useful. Actually, it's very nice because we kind of need to really defend our ideas. So I don't know. Sometimes for example, I'm super intuitive, and Dimitri he stops me a bit, which is good because sometimes he makes questions that I really think about it, and it makes sense, So that's the best part. Is like you have an idea, you share the idea with me, and then we discuss it, And if we are alone, we don't have the opportunity to do that, to really think the film from the scratch and to build something that is not mine, it's not Dimitri's, it's ours, and then it's of our team as well, because we really allowed them to intervene in the process. It's animation. It's a bit different from filmed. How do you say it? Like the live action films. Sorry. Yes. You have the actors. Of course, they give personality. But in the animation, it's much more controlled because we are a bit control freaks. But we are people. So it's very nice when you allow the animators to express themselves and to put ideas in the film, and the film kind of changes like every day. So it's very strange, it's very ambiguous, like it's super controlled but not controlled at all. And then with the painting that we did, with the music, like we just kind of destroyed everything. We were like, the process of the film, it was very I don't know if probably I can talk a bit about this. It was about memory. So the painting, it's like we animated digitally, then we painted digitally, then we print everything, we destroy the printings with water and alcohol, and then we paint over again with charcoals and pastels and acrylics. So it's kind of a process that passes through several hands. It's not just one person. It was like every frame passed through like 5 people. So it's very hard to control that in the end. So and that's it. We were just 2 members of our team. We kind of guide the thing more or less, but the film kind of developed by itself, and the experience of to work with someone else, it's very nice for the discussions. It's really make you think about your decisions, and that's, for me, it was super useful. It's very cool.
Do you want to add anything?
Yeah, we have a bit different sensibilities, but it's a really surprising result when we realize, like, either of us, we would never do this film on our own. Like, something just happens. You discuss. There's a lot of, there's cooperation, but there's also like defending and fighting ideas, and then at some point you just find something that I wouldn't never do this film alone, and then he probably also the film wouldn't be like this, but then ideas converge and you find this new thing that I think surprised both of us. Yeah.
I wanted to ask you about the sound design in the film, which I think plays a very central role. It's not only the voices of the actors, but all kind of different sounds, like the archive excerpts, and even the music, which is very subtle at times. When in the development did you decide that this was going to be such an important part of the film, and how did you develop the ideas, how to use it and explore the sound in the film?
Yeah, we definitely knew it was going to be super important. We at the beginning we didn't know how we would approach this. Like, it's not a physical space. You're not filming something. You don't have really characters or actors moving around. It didn't make sense to make something literal. And I found out, already knew his work. The musician Heinbach, he's from Berlin, German musician, and I already knew his stuff. I was super interested in some experiments he would do with. He records stuff on tape, and then loops the tape around. That gets degraded by scalpels and sharp objects, and every time he loops around, the recording gets more and more destroyed. And I was super interested in that. And when we were doing the animatic, I was just stealing stuff from YouTube, his songs, trying to, to see how it works with our film, just to get a general sense. And I think Miguel also liked it. And Miguel had the idea of, like, why won't we just talk to this guy, ask him if he wants to do the music for the film? And we did, and he said yes. And I think that was a start for to develop the rest of the sound.
And it was a very nice process. because we did this part. I think I didn't answer. We, since the beginning of the film, that we thought about it. It was, as I said previously, it was about memory, the process of memory that includes image and sound. So, because we are talking about cinema, right? So we thought about work very well the music part since the beginning. So we still had basically nothing, and we send him. We had some drawings, and we send these to Heinbach, this kind of graphic with some, okay, the film, it starts very slow and then grows up and then goes down, and then we painted that graphic with some colors. So here it's very intense, here it's bright, here it's dark. So it was a super abstract graphic. And we talked with him. It was like our first meeting. And then he sent us like a soundtrack. Basically, he sent us 7 musics. And we were, okay, we can make an album out of this. So we asked for 6 minutes. It was supposed to be 6 minutes. He sent us like 50 minutes of music. It was crazy. And so, yeah, and then we worked with all of this material that he gave to us since the beginning, really the raw beginning. And then further, we started to work with Bernardo Bento, that made the sound design. So Stefan Heinbach, he made the music that had already a little bit of sound design, because he used to work as a sound designer as well. So it really touches the sound design already. And Bernardo kind of made all of the sounds, and we also gave him a lot of liberty and freedom to do it, and it was awesome. I'm super happy with the music and the sound design, because it was crazy. At least me, you are kind of a musician, but not me. I really like music, but from this side, just listening, you know. So it's not a thing that I really know how to do. I can understand it. I can say if I like it or not, but we didn't put our hands on that part. We just really trusted the people, and they did like an awesome job. It was very cool, and yeah, I think it was also funny for them, like this destruction stuff, like started kind of clean and then destroy everything. Also, Bernardo used some tape and some analogical materials, like a lot of umbrellas to make the birds flying. It was very cool for him as well, I'm sure.
Thank you for your answers, Duarte.
Thank you.
Welcome back to Curtas. This is your second time here, after having previously won the Take One competition a couple of years ago. To start, can you tell us a little bit about the initial idea for the film, how this project came about, and also, like you mentioned yesterday on your presentation, the connection to Amor de Vidas Novas with this film?
I think the start probably I don't know, because this idea of mainly thinking about doing a film in that house, which is a house that it's been in my family for many generations, and I think the idea of doing a film there came very like during film school even. I always find that place very enigmatic and very ghostly, because I spent most of my childhood summers there, and I think all of the boredom of summer really put me in another state, and I created this idea of the house, and so I think it came definitely from there, and then first there was this group of friends that were running away from a chaotic city, and then that idea was dropped, and then it came the grandfather figure many years later, because it was, I think I had to think about experience that was happening in my life, and for me there was no better way to think about it than to think in cinema. So yeah, that's what happened, and I think the connection with the previous film, I think there are a lot of connections. I think there's even like if you think of both films in perspective, like the arc of both films is actually very similar. In both of them, there's letters that start the narrative, um, and this is something that it's curious because it's something that we were conscious of when we ended the writing process of the film, because I was writing alone with Pedro for a while, and then when I decided that Gonçalo was going to be part of the film, and I also brought Marcel and Beatriz from the previous film, we all seated together and created the final script together, and yeah, there's definitely a lot of things about both films. Yeah.
Yeah, that was one of the questions that I wanted to ask. What was working with this group of actors? If you already had them in mind when you were writing, and if they helped shape the film in some, and also if you had a lot of rehearsals, or was there any room for improvisation while you were shooting, or if everything was more scripted from the beginning?
Well, about this group of actors, it's funny to call them actors. It seems very serious, because I had a lot of it was very fun shooting with Marcel and Beyond the other film, and then I think I just I am very honored to work with them. I think I'm a very big fan of them, and it made sense to me to bring Gonçalo into the project because is this person. It's weird to talk about Gonçalo because he's in the room, but is this person that I know since we were like 2 years old, since I don't remember having him in my life, because I have no memory of being 2 years old, of course. But we basically discovered cinema together. We were teenagers doing like these stupid films, imitating Quentin Tarantino and stuff like this, very silly things. And yeah, we just had it seemed he is someone that shares a lot of guts towards cinema, and we came from the same place. We created a ground for ourselves, so it made totally sense to bring him and to bring him inside my family, my actually family from the beginning of the film, and the family that made the film together. And I think yeah, and you had a lot.
And if there was a lot of rehearsals or improvisation along that changed maybe the way the movie was going because of their input.
Yeah, I think we rehearsed the song a lot. Mostly the song we rehearsed a lot, and then there was room for experimentation, but everything was very scripted down, and there was a lot of rewrites during the editing process also. So I think the film, we shot it 3 years ago, so it's this process of finding how can we be as clear as we can about the ideas. And I think they never left, the three of them never left, and were always so into the film, into the changes, and into discussing what can we do, how can we put this idea here. Yeah. So
I asked about improvisation because music plays a very important key part in the film, and at times the film almost feels like a musical, but also how it must be like to write a song, the way the film moves. How did you came to this idea that you wanted to use music as kind of a way of filling the empty house, and how it was arriving at the songs as they appear in the film? Was it something that you had in mind since the beginning for this film?
yeah, I think music always comes first when I have ideas, and when I start to think about what can a movie be. So there was definitely a lot of musical ideas, and on the other film, there's another comparison with the previous film. I knew I wanted to keep up with the musical energy, so yeah, I knew I wanted the actors to sing live. That was a big goal. So yeah, and then, well, there's I think one of the ways the actors influenced is that Bia and Marcelo were always like, Marcelo really likes to play guitar. And they were always like improvising these silly songs that you can actually see in the film. And that was something that when we were writing the script, we spent 1 week together in the house, 3 months before shooting, something like this. And I know us being up all night just like doing those kind of silly things you see in the film. And yeah, so I knew I had to have that in the film, because I find it so funny, and that represented so much the relationship they have between them. And then about this part of them singing live, the actual song where everything kind of materializes, cinema and everything. I knew I had to invite Manel, which was Primeira Dama, which was the actor of the previous film. And yeah, I just remember like going back and forth with him about all the ideas I have. Like, the film is about this, but it's also about that, and we are here doing this. And then he created this thing. Yeah.
Also, I would like to ask, because there's this small cameo, and someone would call it an apparition by Luís Miguel Sintra. Can you tell us how this came about? Was this an idea that you had also that you wanted to use in the film, or was it something that happened later?
It was something that we spent a lot of time figuring out. How can this grandfather figure appear, if he's supposed to appear, if he's not supposed to appear? And then we figured that it should be someone that is connected with cinema itself, because the film plays a lot with cinema, and so it made sense to us to have a figure that would represent not just being the grandfather, not just being the character, but represented much more than that. So it was a very hard decision for me, because I never worked with professional actors, and it was the first time I had to direct someone. I don't know, because for me with Gonçalo and Marcelo and Bio, it's a different process, because we all kind of study together. It's different, but then with him was I cannot use another word. Just, it was a gift, because I think for him to be, and I think he read the script in this very in this perspective that I wasn't I think he understood the film completely, what I was trying to do. I think it comes from his experience, of course, and then he just gave like all of him his espólio, basically. I think he just gave all of these photos, and I think that gave the film another level, I think. So yeah, it was just a gift working with him. Yeah.
Yeah, and like you said, there's this level. There's a sequence when the characters are looking at a piece of film, almost like they are looking at the past, and there's this maybe connection with cinema and the history, and there's a lot of photos also in the film. I think as a reflection of memories and past, but the film feels kind of nostalgic, but also at the same time, like with these characters occupying the house, almost kind of a rebirth or letting go of the past. I don't know. Was that something that you wanted to explore with the film? Some that you was part of the theme that you wanted to explore with the film.
I think I just wanted to think about the past in the sense of in the sense of what clues will it give us about the future. What can we bring from the past that we can carry forward? Like, what direction should we go? And I think that's why we created this character of Gonçalo, because I think there's this numbness or loss that I wanted to really explore, this like almost apathic sense of not being able to figure out what's happening around you. And I think the film definitely deals with that, with how can we look at the past, look at that piece of real, and what does it project about the future. And I think that's the main goal of the film. Yeah.
And just one last small question: the last images that we see in the cemetery, was that an idea also that you had, or was it like an accident that you found and then you wanted to use in the film?
I wish it was an accident, but it's very very staged. I think, because for me cemeteries they are these very intriguing places because there's no. It's very like when you go to a funeral house, like to pick your grave, there's this all presets of phrases to choose to be. So I think it was funny to think. I find this idea very stimulating. Like, how can like this pop sensibility come into a cemetery that is considered like the worst place to be? And I think it's due to our culture, the way we deal with death, and it's due to the way that specific area of our country deals with that, and those villages. That's my experience of being in that specific cemetery. So I wanted to break through that and just think about how can suddenly there's a Marco Paulo song in one grave, you know. And I think that's very inspiring for me.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Francis, hello, welcome to Curtas. It's your first time here with your first film. Nice to have you, and congratulations on this mesmerizing look at awkwardness and sexuality and everything combined. Just wanted to ask, first of all, how did it all started? I'm not going to ask if it was autobiographical because, but how did the project came about?
First of all, thank you for having me there, because it's I love all the films I've seen here. So yeah, and it started a very long time ago. I was in Ottawa festival, and I was like, I just have a phone call from one of my friends who was separating, and he was like, I don't know. I was hearing him, and he was crying at the phone, and he was telling me how it wasn't, how his relationship finished, and when I stopped this call, I was like, oh, I think he has a problem with women, and and I thought maybe we have all a problem with women as men, and I was wondering about this situation, and as a lot of people are, and so I started to wanted to work with this kind of relation, a man with women, and a man who has problematic relationships with women, and as I wanted to make a short film, I have to pick one woman, and I was like, okay, the first woman I've met is my mother, so I think we will go with the mother, and so immediately I thought about my mother. This is not autobiographic, you know, but I was thinking about a particular moment in my family when my mother was telling me a lot of things about problems with my father, and I was a teenager, and it made me feel something like I wasn't able to understand what she was telling me at the moment, and as I was working on this film, this idea comes back directly in my mind, and I was like, okay, what if the mother of my character was like too much in sexuality, too much in everything, and what if this young boy became quite an old man, not so old, but and so the idea arrived. It was like I have to work with a mother and the father. Actually, the father is dead in the film, but is quite important, and the mother was. I was like, yeah. What if the mother is a sex addict and his son has to develop his own sexuality with that kind of people. And I think if everybody can have the sexuality he wants, but if you have children, you have children, you have to be careful about the way you are talking to them. And I think everything started with that. So it was like an old mother in a wheelchair, dependent of his son, and his son has to be with her because she's very dependent. And then I developed the idea for a very long time. And I wrote all the film one time, and then I make all the animatic of the first version of the film. And it was the presence of the father was much more important. It was a very big question about the sexuality and the I don't know the word, this portrait of alpha male, you know, and it was like very alpha, and I wanted to destroy this picture of the father, and because this picture of the father is of the man in general is fake, and so I was working on it, and I had a huge part of the story was about the fact that the father wasn't really alpha male, and then I finished my animatic, and I was like, okay, there is too much in this film. So I have something like 3 stories in one. So I decided to pick 2 of it. And I restarted I rewrite the film with a co-author with Jimmy Beaumont, and we just choose two sides of the story, and then arrive the final script.
Looking at the animation that you use with the film, can you give us some context on why you choose this particular look and technique, and given that it's your first film, and also maybe this was what the story was asking to look like this, and how it was designing the characters, especially the mother and the son and the neighbor.
So actually, it's hybrid animation. It's the sets are made of like in stop motion. It's small houses, and the characters are in 3D. The first reason is because I'm from 3D animation. I'm a CG artist, but I love stop motion too. So I'm a set maker and in stop motion. So I wanted to have the 2 techniques at the same time, because it was my film. I just wanted to have all the fun parts of every techniques. And but actually, for the specific look of the film, I wanted to have something very sharp and very very real. The materials are real. So I think it's in animation it's quite hard sometimes to have the good feeling on the character, to have the good feeling, to have the good the feelings. I don't know the word. I'm sorry. What's the word in English? I wanted to have the good emotions on the characters, and in animation it's very hard to have that unless you exaggerate a lot of in animation, particularly if you are making dialogues and things like that. In Pixar's you have a lot of smash and everything, and everything is like very exaggerated, and I don't wanted that, so I decided to take this particular technique to have something very sharp, very I think easier for people to feel the emotion. And yeah, and yeah, it's okay.
Please.
Okay, yeah, please do.
No, I wanted to ask a couple of things because I think there's two key elements in the film, which is the pacing and the rhythm of because it keeps accelerating at some points.
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask you, how did you find this balance between the pace that you wanted? And yeah, I'll ask about the other thing.
Actually, I think for me this film is about a kind of pressure, the pressure of the character on the character on Eli. Eli has lived with this pressure all his life, and it is the moment when he's starting to realize that it's enough, and the breaking point is his mother's death, and as his mother dies, he realizes he's free, but he's not actually, and he has to find a way to be free, and it's this kind of for me the pressure is coming from the kind of thing you want to have something in your life, but you are not able to have it. You want psychologically you are not able to have it. So it's like very pressurizing on you. You have lots of pressure, and so that's the reason why I wanted to have this huge pressure on the character, and then the resolution and normal life maybe.
And the other part was about the sound also, because here is very important, not only the voice acting, and maybe you can talk a bit how it was directing the actors, but also finding the effects and even the music for the film.
Let's start with the characters. Actually, I have a very huge. I was very lucky for the casting, because I was talking to the sound supervisor of the auditorium, who was recording the characters, and actually he gives one very small role, the father's role, to a friend of him who was Martial Leminou, and Martial Leminou is like very famous in France for making a lot of animation, manga, anime recording and voices, and he was and he fell in love with the story. So he told me, okay, I will help you for the casting. So he gives me lots of names, and it was like I was in the candy shop. I just have to pick which one I wanted, and it was like and everybody was very good, and I picked for Eli, for example. It's Bruno Magne who made the voices, and is like. Is Eli actually in his sensibility, in his when I met him, the feeling was already there. So I didn't have a lot to do, because he's someone who has lots of love in him. It was we recorded all the voices, and after that he asked me where I was living, and I told him, I have to go to Montreuil, and he told me, okay, it's on my way. I can pick you in my car, and then we go to my house, and we spent like something like some 2 hours in his car just speaking, and it was like, I'm late, I have to go, and he was always starting again, and it was he's very is very generous, and the actress for Natalie, so the girl next door, was a very close friend of Bruno. So when they during the scene of the meeting in front of the door, it was the first time since the COVID. When they have been able to play together, so it was the first time. Yeah, it was like there was a meeting again during acting, and the emotions. I think the emotion of the scene is due to this, this connection. Yeah, and well, and the mother, of course, it like the mother is is. I think the actress. I was not comfortable at all with her. She was a great person, and she's not aggressive at all. But she has something like very. I was so far from her, and I have to direct her. It was like I was like Eli to speak to his mother. So I understand it, and I was like, I think it's my force to work with her, and so I talked to her like if I was his son, you're sure, all the time, and it was very easy finally. And about the sound. For the sound, I was lucky again because I have worked with Grégory Vincent, who is a famous Foley artist in France, and he loved the film, and he accepted to. He just had created his own auditorium, and so he gives the auditorium for nothing, and he just loved to work on it, and he's a genius in sound. He's very sensitive, and I actually basically I was in the room, and I was on a sofa, and all the day I was looking at him working, and I think I have something like 2 or 3 times I asked him to change something a little bit, but it was like nothing. I think my opinion wasn't interesting at all, actually. So and for the music again, and all this luck is due to Badge Auditorium and Emmanuel Roboningo, who was the supervisor of sound supervisor, and he has another connection with this musician, and it was Julien de Corré, who was part of a group called a band called Nouvelle Vague, and we met. I met him in his not the underground, in his basement. His basement is full of instrument, and we just played during 2 hours together, and we were talking about music, and it was like so great, and I gave him the animatic, and then I just come back with the good music, and I was like I just changed something like 2-3 tracks, and that's all.
Thank you. Monica, sorry to keep you waiting. Thank you. Welcome back to Curtas. It's a pleasure to have you here again with us. With your new film, Human Nature. I think it's a wonderful, very powerful film about relationships. And the first question is similar to the ones I asked them, which is, how did the film started to gain form? What was the beginning with the first ideas about the film?
I'm very happy to be here as well. The film started with, I guess I work a lot with characters struggling, or the problems or the struggles of contemporary life. In this case, we were already writing about a couple having difficulties to get pregnant, and diverging in their desires, because on one hand, questions about the meaning or economic problems or the lack of meaning in work, climate change, all of the things that can make one question, why should we have children in the world as it is? Pandemics was mostly, I guess, circumstantial to this, in the sense that it then brought the story to something more condensed, but it was already a story, because it didn't start as like this story in confinement, in curfew, but that and the theme of infertility and the need of still nurture and to propagate despite the state of things, then just carried on the thread of the writing.
But I was curious in that process of writing, how was it finding the balance between giving the viewer enough information but not too much, that fit with the style that you want to explore, which is not a very explicit story, which is a lot of introspective thoughts. And how is it when you are writing? How do you try to find that balance of how much to show or not what to say?
I think in the first versions we always write too much. We also wrote too much, and I think it's a process of discovering what is really communicating already in the images, and and in the power of having a garden that is in nature that is so fertile, and as a contrast to a couple who is struggling with fertility, we just trusted that could already tell so much. And then there's the process of course, with the feedback of team you respect and that tell you maybe this, and then with the actors again, and that we realize a lot with the actors was not only with the lines but also with the tone, finding the right tone, it's a process.
And I was wondering, what was it like working with these actors? Was it people that already knew and had in mind when you were writing, or it came later? And if you had rehearsals, was there room for improvisation while you were filming? Did the actors help shape the film at all?
The actors I knew, of course. I hadn't worked with neither João Vicente nor Krista Alfaiate, but they were actors I was interested in, and then we did like a casting, but not a big casting. Then it was quite soon that they should be the ones, and definitely like the things of the lines and finding little elements in the scene. Sometimes they're so silent, it's just about a gesture and how to create a sense of intimacy and of a long partnership. It's body language, so it's it's a lot about the unspoken as well, this lack of communication between them. All of this was very we discussed it a lot. We discussed a lot about what they know about each other as a couple outside of the story, just things that create a fiction of proximity for the actors. But I think it comes across, and then in the way they are with each other in the scenes.
Definitely. I love the way that the characters are slowly developed as we see the film, with the small details that help us paint a picture. Like how they relate to the others, like the friends that come to have dinner, but also very small things. Like, for example, I noticed on the nightstand the book "The Sixth Extinction" by Elizabeth Colbert, which everyone should read, which is really helps set the mood for that character. And then the way that the woman, we see her playing with the dog, for example, and the man, he's playing with this little child. So I was wondering, when you have all these elements and you are using them from the script, how do you translate it to the to the shooting process? Like, do you have everything storyboarded, or are you allowing yourself to find new things in the setting?
Actually, all of those elements, not the child, but the book and the dog, these were things that we discovered already, not while shooting, but like closer to the shooting. And it again had to do with giving depth to the characters and to the scenes. And for example, the scene with the dog, also speaking with the Faraz Fesharaki, the DOP, about the tone of the scene. And then while discussing, thinking, this character needs, like, she's more hopeful, and she brings herself out of this mood, and that's very beautiful about this character. So isn't there something else? And then using just the actual place that we were shooting, because of the people that actually, so they are really neighbors, and that is really a neighbor dog. And it developed with the actual location, a lot of these small elements as well, and that we then brought it inside the film.
Like you said before, a very interesting part of the film is the way that the characters, it's not only about the dialogue, but it's very much about what it isn't said, like that we can read between the lines, or what it's not there. It's kind of about translating interior thoughts into actions. And is this kind of cinematic language something that appeals to you, that you like to explore, and something that you were trying to do with the film, especially given the story?
I think I was really wanting to do, because the films I did before were films I shot in school, and in which I think the script is very visible, or that structure is very at the surface. And I was really looking forward to emancipate myself from this way of doing cinema, even though it's okay, I was a student. I tried to tell myself, but this was like, I think, giving myself the opportunity to explore the same themes or the concerns in a way that I found that could be more about the cinema. So I think I was very conscious about that, that thing that I wanted to achieve for myself as a director.
Thank you very much. I had just one final question for everybody. Maybe we can do a quick round, because we don't have much time. And so this is a question I usually ask at these meetings, which is, looking at your first idea for the film, when you thought, okay, I'm going to do this film, and now after watching the final result, how similar and how different do you think it is from that first idea? Maybe Eduardo. You can start.
Start with us, yeah. Well, it changed a lot. In our case, it really changed a lot. But like some time ago, we were finishing the film, we were packing up all the stuff and trying to figure out what was trash, what they want to keep, and everything else. And we did find that we did find a lot of shots and ideas that we completely forgot. Oh, this was here since the beginning. We never touched this, and so many things changed. And at some point, the theme changed completely. But yeah, some ideas we really thought like, oh, this needs to be here, and we didn't even realize that we are keeping like some details.
Yeah, the basics stayed there. I think the idea, we just developed it, but if we see the project that we sent to Ika, okay, it's very different. The visuals but it's there. It's already there.
Thank you, Eduardo. Same question.
I think the film from the beginning until now is like the painting you see in the corridor. It will never stop crying. I think that's what I have to say.
Okay.
As everybody, everything has changed. I think it takes me 6 years to have the financing of the film. So actually, I grew up with the film. I grew up myself, and now I'm a father, and my life has changed totally. So I'm glad I haven't done the first film, and I think I could make something like 3 films with all the ideas. No, so.
Yeah, of course, it's not the same as the script, but I think what mostly changed is the reality of that the actual location brought to the story, and all the unpredictables. So the cats, the snails, and all that is so alive and unique in the garden, growing and almost falling apart while you're still shooting, because it was actually growing in real time. Those things, I think, made the film what it is.
Okay, thank you very much for your words. Good luck to your films, and hopefully we can see you again here in Curtas. Don't forget, tomorrow, 3:30, the last of the meetings with the directors. Thank you so much, everybody. Please.